Welcome to The Explainer. In any project, there's one question that trumps almost everything else. Who gets to make the call? Today, we're diving deep into how decision-making authority is really determined and handed out, because honestly, without clear answers, projects just spin their wheels. All right, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the rules of the game, the whole system that says how power works. Then, we'll hunt for the golden ticket, that one document that officially gives someone power. After that, we'll meet the key players, see how they make the tough calls, and wrap up by exploring two totally different philosophies on how to structure authority. So picture this. Your project is starting to go sideways. Things are getting tense, everyone's looking around like, now what? Who has the actual authority to step in, make a decision, and get this thing back on track? Figuring that out is absolutely the most critical first step. Right, so making big decisions isn't just about who's got the loudest voice or the corner office. It all operates within this kind of hidden system, a framework that sets all the rules for how power is given out and used. Let's pull back the curtain on that. And that framework has a name. It's called a governance system. The best way to think about it is like the constitution for your project. It's the official rulebook and all the processes that guide everything: how you set goals, how you watch for risks, and how you make sure you're performing well. Every single decision stands on this foundation. A lot of the time, this whole governance thing is run by a project management office, or PMO. And, the type of PMO an organization has tells you everything about how they handle authority. A supportive PMO is pretty hands-off. They just give you templates. A controlling PMO is more like a referee, making sure you're playing by the rules. But a directive PMO, they're the ones in charge, directly managing the projects and deciding who gets what authority. Okay, so if governance sets the rules of the game, what's the one document that officially gives you a ticket to play? Well, that would be the project charter. And this is the key right here. The project charter is the formal, written document that bestows authority. It's the piece of paper that says, hey everyone, this project is real, and you, the project manager, you have the power to use the company's money and people to get it done. It's literally your license to lead. And as you can see from this diagram, a charter isn't just whipped up out of thin air. It's the official output of a whole process, one that takes the company's big strategic goals as its input. This is so important because it ensures the project and all the authority that comes with it is tied directly to what the organization actually wants to achieve. All right, charter in hand, let's meet the cast of characters. Because it's not enough to know that power exists. We need to know who's actually holding it and what that really means day to day. So in a typical setup, you've usually got two main players at the top of the food chain. There's the project sponsor, they're the champion, the one with the money and the high-level vision. And then you've got the project manager, who's been given the authority to run the day-to-day show and lead the team to get the work done. Okay, let's get super clear on what we mean by authority. Authority is the official right to act. It's the power to spend money, to make the call, to sign off on things. This isn't just assumed, it's formally given to someone, usually through that project charter we just talked about. Now, don't mix that up with responsibility. Responsibility is the obligation to do something. It's the actual work. And the key thing here is that responsibility can be shared. A few different people can all be responsible for getting their part of a report done. But accountability, well, that's where the buck stops. It's the ultimate ownership of the final result. And this is huge. Unlike responsibility, accountability cannot be shared. Only one person is on the hook for whether that report was a success or a failure. Nailing this distinction is just critical for clear decision-making. Okay, so we know who has the authority, but how do they actually use it to make a decision? Especially when you've got a room full of smart people who all have their own opinions. Well, there are a few common ways. You could go for unanimity, where everyone has to agree. Sounds great, but good luck. That can take forever. You could do a majority vote, which is pretty democratic. Plurality is when the biggest group wins, even if it's not over 50%. And then, of course, there's the autocratic way. One person with the authority just makes the call. It's fast, but yeah, it can be risky. But let's be real, for the big, complicated stuff, just taking a vote isn't gonna cut it. You need a much more structured, almost scientific way to make the call and get personal bias out of the equation. And check this out. It's a fantastic way to see this in action. Say you're choosing a new car. You can use a matrix like this to score each option against the things that really matter to you, like speed, cost, and how efficient it is. By just adding up the scores, the best choice becomes really obvious. In this case, the green car is the clear winner. This takes all the emotion out of it and gives you a solid, logical reason for your decision. All right, for our last part, let's zoom all the way out and see how all these ideas play out in two fundamentally different philosophies of power: centralized versus decentralized. On one side, you've got your traditional plan-driven projects. Here, authority is centralized. All the power is held at the top by the project manager and sponsor, and big decisions get escalated up the chain. Management directs the work. But on the other side, you have the more modern, agile world. Here, it's all about decentralizing authority and delegating it right down to the team doing the work. They're empowered to make decisions on the spot, and they're guided by a servant leader who's there to help, not to command. This quote just nails the whole philosophy of agile authority. The core idea is that the people who are closest to the work are the ones who know best how to do it. So you don't just give them tasks, you formally give them the authority to make the important day-to-day calls themselves. So what's the big takeaway here? Clear authority is never an accident. It all starts with a solid governance framework, the rules of the game. It's made official through a project charter, and it's made real by having crystal clear lines between authority, responsibility, and accountability. And at the end of the day, how you use that authority all comes down to your core philosophy. Is it going to be top-down, or is it going to be bottom-up? So I want you to think about your own world for a second. Is it always clear who gets the final say? Where could a little more clarity on who decides what make the biggest difference for your team? Because sometimes that clarity is the one thing you need to unlock a whole new level of performance. Thanks for watching.